Okay.
That's
Officer.
correct, Mr. Chair. Item number 7 is Club Oasis Incorporated, doing business as Club Aqua, also known as the Ritz. It's located at 1752 Seymour Avenue in Roselawn. This is also reaffirmation from last year. In 2011, City Council endorsed and submitted to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control an annual renewal objection to the liquor permit. On January 30th and March 5th of this year, the Ohio Division of Liquor Control held 2 hearings on this matter, and as of to date, it has not been ruled on. It is the Cincinnati Police Department's request to reaffirm its objection in order to preserve the rights of the city in this manner as the legal process is still ongoing. From District 4, we have Officer Brent Adams.
Officer, welcome back. Can you give for the new members of council just kind of an update on this whole issue of Club Aqua?
I don't know if it's easy just to give a simple update. As you can see, this is some of what was presented to the state both January, I believe it was 26th, and March 5th. So it was 2 days worth of presentation to them in reference to just the plethora of violence and drug activity that we have had at the location. For those that are new to council, last year council did object to this. This is merely a reaffirmation because this process has taken so long. In 2010, the liquor license was objected to after 3 people were shot in the parking lot on Valentine's Day. What happened, in an effort to work with the owner that year, the police dropped that liquor objection and entered into an agreement that would enact a new safety plan to prevent further acts of violence. 3 weeks after those security initiatives were enacted was May 16, 2010, when Dexter Burrows was murdered inside the club. He was shot in the head in a club estimated to have 700 people inside. After years of shooting, the club became known as Club Homicide. It was revealed on Channel 9 News that it was relatively easy to get a weapon into the club. 3 separate witnesses advised the media that it was only a matter of paying off security to slip a gun inside the club. The club did shut down after the murder on the dance floor, reopened with a new name and a more aggressive security plan. But despite that security effort, since reopening as Aqua, it has had 16 assaults or domestic violence incidents. There's a felonious domestic violence, a robbery, a carjacking at gunpoint, a kidnapping robbery at gunpoint, an additional victim shot inside the bar. There have also been 2 reports of shots fired in the club's lot and a report of a person threatening others with a gun in front of the club. Another victim called the police stating she was being followed from the club by a suspect displaying a firearm. In September, a subject fled from inside the club and threw a handgun and marijuana before being arrested by sheriff's deputies. In October, another person had a gun inside the club and fled from deputy sheriffs and struck several cars as he escaped the scene in his vehicle. In total, there have been 3 events where guns are known to have gotten into the club following the murder and the new security initiative. Separate from those events, there have been 21 arrests since reopening by the sheriff's security detail for disorderly conduct or drug possession at the club. Our concern at the police district's level is the ongoing violence. That's our primary issue. And September 4th, which was one of the things that led up to the objection last year, there was an individual that stated he was punched and kicked by a mob of 30 people at about 3:30 in the morning while he was still at the club. On New Year's Eve, 3 people were assaulted inside the club. They estimated that that fight lasted for 10 minutes. 1 victim was knocked unconscious on the dance floor, suffered a laceration to her face above her eye that required 30 stitches. A robbery occurred the same night. The victim was punched and knocked to the ground inside the club, where she was repeatedly kicked before her purse was taken. On January 8th of 2011, again leading up to last year's objection, a victim was treated at Jewish Hospital for a possible broken nose after her and a companion were both punched and kicked in the head after being knocked to the ground inside the club, and 2 other victims reported that they were also physically assaulted by being repeatedly punched while at the club that same weekend. February 6th, a victim called stating her vehicle was taken at gunpoint. Her boyfriend stated he had pulled into the parking lot at Club Aqua. Two subjects jumped into the rear seat, and a third approached the driver's side and pulled a gun on him. The victim ran directly to the sheriff's detail as the suspects took off with the car. He told the sheriff's detail what occurred, and the detail transported him home without advising police to be aware of the car that was taken at gunpoint. It was only after the victim was dropped off at home that police were advised of this event. On February 26 of 2011, security broke up a fight that began in Aqua Nightlife, threw the group out of the club. 3 of the girls were followed home and were assaulted by several others as they struck them in the back of the head with hammers. April 24th, 2011, there was a kidnapping robbery that occurred at 3:30 in the morning. Witnesses told the sheriff's detail they saw a person taken at gunpoint from the lot of Club Aqua. Suspect held a person at gunpoint, told him to unlock the car. They took $173 and a cell phone from the victim, told him to drive. Sheriff's detail attempted to stop the vehicle until it wrecked in Norwood. The suspects then fled on foot. Police K-9 tracked down the suspect, and both were taken into custody, and the victim's property was recovered. Now, since the objection of last year, 3 more guns are known to have gotten inside the club. So, again, those are only the events that we know when the gun got past this new security initiative. On July 23rd, 2011, a fight broke out inside the bar. When security attempted to break up that fight, a single gunshot was fired. The bullet struck a female bystander in the vagina. Again, she was shot inside that bar. On September 10th of 2011, in the early morning, a bar employee advised sheriff's deputies that a person in the bar had a gun. When deputies approached that subject, he fled from the club and was seen by deputies throwing a handgun and a baggie of marijuana. The suspect was caught several blocks away, and a check of his criminal history showed a previous conviction of drug trafficking. On October 30th, 2011, a man with a gun inside Club Aqua fled from the scene when officers attempted to stop him. He got into a car and sideswiped several other vehicles as he drove off. He then abandoned that car and led the police on a foot chase. Our second objection is the multiple administrative issues that the club and its ownership have had over this past year. On February 11th of 2011, 2 warrants were issued against the club owner, Mr. Andrew Williams, in an ongoing issue of failure to pay employee city income tax. The warrants were in reference to a failure to pay those taxes for each year between 2004 and 2009. Mr. Williams has pled guilty to the A charge on January 26th of this year. On March 4th of 2011, the club was placed on suspension by the Division of Liquor Control for failure to pay $2,000 in fines for an underage sale. Members of the Ohio Investigative Unit and Cincinnati's Vice Unit found the club selling alcohol on 2 separate nights during that suspension, and the state ordered 2 additional citations. The person that was managing the club on those 2 nights is Dwight Williams, who is the brother of the owner of the club. A check of his arrest record shows that Mr. Williams was found guilty of felony possession of crack cocaine on 10/6/09 and possession of marijuana back in '99. He also has a drug trafficking conviction from '85 and '82 and a felonious assault from 1979. The reason that is important is just that fact alone, with somebody with that sort of criminal record, would be enough for us to start to object at the state level to this club. And since our objection of last year, on May 6th of 2011, Cincinnati Vice officers conducted an undercover investigation and found that the club was selling drinks for $1 outside of the happy hour times. Officers again requested a citation from the state. During our state hearings over the January and on March, officers that were involved in those undercover investigations